Hello, and welcome to your Pointers for Parents podcast, where we support parents with anxiety related to teens transitioning out of the home after high school, whether heading off to the college campus, the military base, or simply residential interdependence. And as you all already know, I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Lloyd, and joining us today is a professional who has operated within her zone of genius for many, many years. She's an expert at that which she does, and her name is Sibylla Nash. And lean in and listen, and let me tell you just a little bit about her. Sibylla is a Los Angeles-based author. Her work has appeared in a variety of outlets, including Essence, Newsweek, the Chicago Tribune, and many others. She is the recipient of the Kit Reed Travel Fund and was a writing resident at Joya Air in Spain. She received her undergrad degree in journalism from the University of Southern California and her MFA in creative writing from Otis College of Art and Design. Sibylla, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
And we are as well. Listen, I just want to just jump in just with a more personal question, just so that our audience can get a chance to know you, and then we will like pursue those books you've written. I'm so excited about it, and our audience needs to know as well. So, do you have a morning routine? And if so, what is that?
I've been walking in the mornings. That's been my new routine for like the past about a month or so. So I get up, I meet a friend of mine, and we go for about a 45-minute walk, and it really helps to jumpstart the day.
Awesome. Yes. And gets your blood circulating and your movement and all of that. And all of that helps with some clear thinking. So thank you so much for sharing that. So one of your books is called Dream City. And I'm curious to know if you can talk about that book and then share with us what inspired you to scribe the message you're telling in that awesome read.
Thank you. Well, Dream City was my first novel that I wrote, so it's a little bit old now, but I'm so excited about it because it was really about a coming of age story, like for a young woman who moves from the East Coast to the West Coast to pursue her dreams. Like many young women or many people in general, you come from somewhere, a small town, and you want to hit it big. So this kind of captures her struggle and triumph in making it in Hollywood, which is what she wanted to do.
That's so exciting. Did that book maybe reflect on maybe something that you experienced, or maybe your daughter experienced, or someone you know? How did that come to be?
Mm-hmm. When I moved to LA, because I'm not originally from Los Angeles, I'm from New Jersey, I came out here and really, my goal was to be a writer. So I pursued my degree in journalism. And being in LA, of course, you're around actors and it's just that energy. So it was kind of like that. So I wrote it in diary format. And it's so funny because when I would do the promotions and the publicity for the book, people would always say, "Oh, is this about you? Is this your diary?" I'm like, "No, it's actually fiction. It's made up." But I didn't have my daughter at the time, but it's funny because she did go into acting, when she was younger. So a lot of the experiences some, because this is in Dream City, the character was, in her late 20s. It had some similarities and just like the auditioning and things like that. So it was interesting how art imitated life.
Sure. I'm sorry. And you know what? As you're talking about this book, I'm thinking about the mothers and fathers who are listening, whereas their teens are transitioning out of the home and their teens are coming of age and being inspired in the next level of their journey and in their life. And I'm sure that there's all types of tips being tossed and gems being dropped in this read, whereas our listeners can then embrace and then encourage their teens who will be leaving out of their home. I mean, they'll be on the other side of their front door, and just some encouraging words and some lessons learned in this book. So I'm so excited that you've written this. And now your second book, or your next book that I'd like to talk about just a little bit is Bumped. And I am curious to know a little bit about that and then how that book came to fruition.
Sure. Bumped was my second novel, and I wrote it. It's coming up on like 10 years now for Bumped, but it's interesting because in a different way, it's a coming of age story. And I think the theme with all of my books is like really figuring out who you are and being okay with that and, pursuing your dreams. And so with Bumped, you have a character who pursued her dreams. She was very successful as a publicist. And then this was right around the time when the governor of New Jersey had to resign because he had been having affairs. There was something crazy. And you had his wife standing next to him, supporting him.
You're listening to Your Pointers for Parents podcast, where we support parents with anxiety as it relates to teens transitioning out of the home after high school. To get additional tips tossed and or gems dropped, subscribe to our weekly emails by clicking on the link below. Now back to Your Pointers for Parents podcast.
And for me, it's just like, wow, we always have women who are, standing by their husbands when they behave badly. And then people kind of look at them like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you, allowing this or standing by him? And so I wanted to capture what they're going through. And so Bumped, the main character, her boyfriend, is under investigation by the FBI, and she's kind of left holding the bag. And so it kind of has a lot of resilience in there, like how to pick up the pieces, which is also something I don't think we teach enough of to our kids that is so helpful for them when they do leave home is resilience, picking up the pieces, understanding that sometimes things may fall apart, but you just put them back together and it may come out a different way, but you put it back together and it's stronger. So that's like the journey of the character in Bumped. It's like, her life kind of like explodes, but she's got to pick up the pieces and she's stronger for it.
I can only imagine just, how that all unfolded from what was going on at the time, and you're writing this. Um, and you're absolutely right. For us and our children, being strong and resilience and learning grit and endurance and all of what's needed along our journey is so essential. You're so right about that. And were there in that book Bumped? Would you say that was it a good ending, or because I know that there were lessons learned in the book, but did it come to a good ending where strength was found, or how would you say that book wrapped up just a bit?
I would say the character really found her stride.
Ah,
It's like life is still going to be, challenging, but if you accept that and you say, I'm not going to be, beat down by it, I'm going to persevere. That's what she did. So she picked up the pieces and she's moving on. So I think it's a satisfying ending.
mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. So where can our listeners get either book?
Drop on by my website, which is
Mm-hmm.
SibyllaNash.com, and that's SIBYLLA Nash, NASH.com, and books are there.
Awesome, awesome. And so is it there that they're able to remain connected with you as well, or do you have a social media handle?
When they go to my website, there's a pop up and they can sign up for my newsletter, which is, I send out periodically so they can keep in touch. And then on Twitter and Instagram, I can be found at mybookishways.com. The handle is mybookishways.
Okay, okay. Fantastic. Any additional advice you'd like to share with our listeners, Sibylla?
Well, for parents who are dealing with anxiety when their kids leave, I think it's twofold. I think you do have to step back a little bit and focus on your goals, your pursuits, because your kid's going to be fine. You have to trust that you taught them well.
Mm-hmm.
So, now is the time for you to pursue whatever, you put to the side because raising kids can be so all encompassing. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really this time to kind of like reclaim yourself or reinvent yourself. So I would definitely say during this time period is to take a breather, figure out what this next chapter looks like for you, and then just go for it.
Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic. And I was even able to just embrace some thoughts you shared. I absolutely love it. I mean, you were writing about figuring out who you are. That was the character in that initial book, and then who was pursuing her dreams, and then just being strong and resilient and having that grit during our journey while we're enduring. And then, okay, and as parents, yes, let's step back and let's pursue our goals and reinvent ourselves so that we're able to pursue what is on our journey and what's ahead of us. All of those are key. Sibylla, I so appreciate you joining us and talking about these books, and I'm confident that our listeners, or some of them, will jump on your website and want to know more. That excites me. And for those who would like to, re-listen and identify more with this podcast, of course, keep in mind we're on Instagram, Pointers for Parents. That's the podcast that we have, and we record, of course, every Saturday. Sibylla, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited you've been able to share this information, and we'll definitely have to have you back sometime. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to coming back.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.
Pointers for Parents podcast.